drug, L-Dopa, brought some of the patients out of their catatonic states. But he also discovered that even without the drug, there was one thing that could stir them.
These people, unable to take a step by themselves or utter a syllable, could dance, could sing, and could come completely alive for a while with music. That, for me, was the first, it stunned me. It still stuns me to see it. It was an absolute revelation. They were liberated by music. They were freed by music.
Today, Beth Abraham is home to the Institute for Music and Neurologic Function and is a world leader in clinical music therapy. The basic idea is that music can help recover damaged brain function by activating parts of the brain that are nearby. Sachs serves as a medical advisor to the Institute. Its motto, "Music has power," attracted the usually reclusive musician Moby to become a patron and board member.
It seemed borderline absurd and miraculous. Like, I couldn't believe it, that like people who can't speak are able to sing and people who can't walk are able to dance. Like, I mean, it seemed, I was like, is there some sort of messiah involved in this? What they're doing at the Institute, the way they're almost rewiring the brain. Like if you have a damaged part of the brain through music therapy, but you're able to almost sort of like reroute around the damaged part. The way the brain can sort of very adaptively rewire itself, it really is miraculous.
One of the most fascinating people Dr. Sachs has studied is a young man named Matt Giordano, who lives here in the quiet suburbs of upstate New York. But Matt's house is anything but quiet. In fact, he's had to seal up his windows to try to keep the noise down in his neighborhood.
So, show me around, Matt.
Matt has severe Tourette syndrome. He's found that only one thing can help him control the involuntary movements or tics that Tourette's gives him: drumming.
Want to play?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was amazing. So how do you feel now?
Feel better. Feel, taste kind of washed them out a little bit there. I have some drums down here, too. Basement's a little bit of a mess. I apologize. It's a basement.
Can you play those for us at all?
Yeah, I have to set it up real quick.
Yeah, set it up a bit.
Matt's now 26, but the discovery that he had a natural ability to play drums came one day when he was 2 years old and heard the Moody Blues song, "I'm Just a Singer in a Rock and Roll Band."
So that Moody Blues tune, that was the thing that really got you going, basically.
Yeah, well, I was 2 years old. And my parents, just bought me a little toy drum just to keep, 2-year-old occupied sometimes. And so they were listening to the Moody Blues on the record player. Huge Moody Blues fans. And so they were in the other room, And that song, I'm just a singer and rock old band came on, and all of a sudden they noticed I'm playing right along with the drums at 2 years old. So they kind of recognized I had a natural ability and gift at playing the drums.
Do you know how to play that? In the backing for that?
I think I might remember maybe a little bit. I'll give it a whirl. I tell you, you guys, you British people know how to play your music.
The discovery of Matt's gift for drumming coincided with the first tics of Tourette's, as well as other psychological issues. In the 1980s, little was known about Tourette's, and no one really knew what was wrong with Matt, not even his parents, Kathy and Tony.
So did it take you long did you discover very early on that Matt had Tourette's?
We started noticing symptoms around when he was about 2 years old, but we didn't have a clue. We didn't have any idea why he was doing what he was doing. And it really wasn't until the tics got very severe. He would come home from school and spin in a circle on the floor for like 2 hours at a time. And he'd be crying, "Mommy, Mommy, help me, help me." But if I tried to stop him, he would get angry at me because he needed to, complete the tic. So that was when we brought him to the doctors and got him diagnosed.
What were the symptoms besides, obviously, the ticking and the lack of coordination? There was also the anger, wasn't there?
Anything could set him into a rage, and it was very destructive. He broke windows and kicked holes in walls and broke our windshield in the car, and it was dangerous. It was dangerous for him. It was dangerous for our family members. But he's always been the sweet kid that he is now. When he wasn't in a rage, just the gentlest, kindest, most wonderful person.
I mean, there was a period when he had to be sort of taken away from home, wasn't there? When he was sectioned, essentially, between the ages of about 8 and 12. I mean, was it that bad?
Yeah, it was that bad. He was either going to kill himself. I walked into the kitchen one day and he had a knife pointed at his chest because he knew that he was violent against Tony, was violent against me, violent against his brother and sister. And like I said, he's a sweet, wonderful, gentle person. And to have that other part of him that he knew he was upsetting the family that much was destroying him.
Matt was given medication at age 7 and was in treatment away from home for over 4 years. It was during this time that he found his talent for drumming could help him control his Tourette's.
At school, he stopped being the weird kid with these tics, and he started becoming the drummer. It was very good for his self-esteem.
I just love drums. I'm professional.
Music demands focus. The Tourette's doesn't so much go away as I think its energies get focused and channeled, and can even form a source of strength or energy. But it is the organization, the order of music, which is their great sort of bastion against chaos.
I mean, people are trying to work out whether music, neurologically, whether that affects the brain and, in a way, the emotions as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. I don't know if there's proof or not, but I mean, how much proof do you need to realize this is pudding? This proof is in the pudding. I was playing this rhythm in a very balanced form of my body, a very balanced form of tempo and everything else. Like, it was almost like my brain was a puzzle, all right? And some of the pieces were not in place. and all of a sudden, everything just kind of clicked in the two hemispheres of my brain. And I literally felt it like this. I was doing it, and all of a sudden it went about this fast, and it kind of just clicked into place, and it literally went down my entire body about that fast. And it was a very symmetrical balance of my entire being. When that happened, it was amazing.
Can you imagine your life without music?
I would go bonkers. I probably wouldn't be here, literally. All right, my hands are freezing.
Where are the bits of the brain which relate to our musical sense?
There's no one musical part of the brain, and in fact there's sort of a dozen different parts of the brain which respond to pitch, to rhythm, to timbre, to melodic contour. Even this green part, the cerebellum, is very crucial, and in fact you find that visual parts of the brain and motor parts of the brain, and also the parts of the brain concerned with anticipation and expectation. I mean, because one doesn't listen to music passively, one sort of decodes it as one listens, one sees where it's going, one has expectations.
Processing music requires the orchestration of many regions in the brain, a neurological feat that science is just beginning to understand. Pitch, volume, timing, and so on are each analysed separately and then combined together to create a musical experience. At Columbia University, a team of scientists helps us see the brain of Oliver Sacks on music.
Dr. Sacks, welcome to the lab.
Okay, thank you. Nice to be here. I don't think I have any of these things. Aneurysm, cardiac pacemaker.
Hal Hinkle, a PhD candidate in neuroscience, is going to lead Sacks through the experiment.
And I guess I weigh 190 today.
Wonderful.
I better put pounds in case they think it's kilos.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good.
Right.
For the test, he'll first be asked to listen to a piece of music. It's one he's familiar with, Diversions by Joseph Horowitz. He even has it on his iPod. Then he'll be told to imagine the same piece playing in his head.
If you'll just take a seat for a moment.
We're going to peer inside his brain using functional magnetic resonance imaging, or fMRI. An fMRI scan shows changes in blood flow in the brain, so we can see which regions are active.
We're going to do 2 sets of scans. The first set of scans, we're going to be asking you to listen to music, and then we're going to ask you to imagine that music.
I look forward to it.
I bet you do.
First, Sacks listens to the music. Then, Hal asks him to recreate the melody in his head. So, the question is, did his brain perform in the same way when he listened and when he imagined?
And it got to, I think, right here.
Hal, along with neuroscientist Joy Hirsch, reviews the results with Dr. Sacks.
I want you to see how much of this activity is in common. Remember I pointed out these frontal lobe areas, the middle frontal gyrus? See, exactly the same place in both sets. So in imagining the music, you're engaging exactly those same areas.
Many brain regions were active in both cases. But when Sacks imagined music, there was one curious difference.
Notice this additional activity in the frontal lobe. That means the front part of your brain is very engaged in creating the music. The music isn't coming from the auditory cortex. One might imagine that it's coming from your frontal lobe. Look at this. Isn't that gorgeous?
It seems that in the brain of Dr. Sacks, his internal iPod is orchestrated by his frontal lobe, the part of the brain that coordinates higher mental functions and working memory. But could the scan of his brain tell us what song he was imagining?
It tells us that you're listening to music, perhaps that you're imagining music, but it doesn't tell us anything about the specific music, at least at this point.
Can't read my thoughts.
I can't read your thoughts still, but we're trying, Oliver. We're trying.
For musicians, imagining music can also activate motor regions of the brain. But what about non-musicians?
So, Oliver, there's this broad question of, are all brains musical?
Well, I've certainly spoken to a lot of people and corresponded to a lot of people. There are those who say that they couldn't bear a day without music. And even if they don't hear it on the radio, they will hear it in their minds. There are others who say music doesn't mean much to them, and if it disappeared tomorrow, that would be okay with them.
Even if you can't play classical music, many of us can appreciate a beautiful piece of Chopin. But imagine what life would be like if our brains couldn't make sense of the music we hear. And what if we didn't understand why that was happening? If you're Anne Barker, music just sounds like an ugly noise.
So what about a nice bit of Chopin then?
No, I would never choose to listen to Chopin while in the car. It's not my idea of fun. That would be really irritating. I think I'd have lots of accidents if I listened to Chopin.
What does the piano do for you then? What's the sort of...
I think it's the thumping of the keys that irritate me. It's very... I don't get any pleasure to listen to the piano. It's an irritating sound, particularly classical piano.
Anne has a rare condition called amusia. Although her hearing is normal, she has the musical equivalent of color blindness.
You can be deaf to music and to different aspects of music. You can be deaf to pitch. You can be deaf to rhythm. Or even if